Hello everyone, I'm Siddharthan. Currently, we are in the first module of our deep learning course, and in this first module, we are discussing about the basics of deep learning and neural network. In the previous videos, we have seen what is meant by an activation function and the different types of activation function we would use in a neural network. In this video, let's try to understand the mathematical formulas for each of the activation functions that we have discussed, and we will also give some values to which we will calculate the output from each of these activation functions. So once we are clear with all this content, in the next video we will understand how we can build manual Python functions to calculate these activation function outputs so that we can understand these concepts in a better way when it actually work in a neural network. So that will be the agenda for today's video, and let's get started. So this we have already seen in the previous video. We had discussed about the four major activation functions such as sigmoid, ReLU, tanh, and softmax functions. So the advantage of activation functions is that it enables the neural network to kind of learn with like a non-linear pattern. So if you take a model like linear regression or logistic regression, it can only learn from linear relationship of data, but it's I mean real world data doesn't follow a linear pattern, right? So this activation functions provides this non-linearity characteristics to the neural network so that it could learn those complex relationship between different features. So this is how a sigmoid curve would look like. That would give the value between 0 and 1. So you will see all these details here. You can maybe pause this video and go through this once. So we have seen that sigmoid is mainly used in the output layer of binary classification neural networks, and again it has this problem of vanishing gradients and so on. So we have discussed about this again in the previous video. You can check that out as well. And then we have ReLU, which is like widely used, and it is mainly used in the hidden layers of the neural networks, and it gives you value from 0 to infinity. So it won't give you negative values at all. So you can use this when you don't want any negative values as the output to your neurons. So this will, whenever you're kind of output or a particular value is less than 0 or it's a negative number, it will just always return 0, and if you are getting a positive number, it will return a positive number. So let's say that if you are passing 2 as the value, you will get the 2 as the output of that neuron. So if you pass 1000 as the value, you will get like that value. So again, we have discussed about these in details, and the other things are tanh and softmax, where softmax is also another widely used one in the case of multi-class classification neural networks in the output layer. So I'm sure that you are clear because we have already discussed this. Now let's try to take each of these different activation function, take a particular x value, and try to calculate what will be the output of these kind of functions. So these are the formulas that we can kind of first go through. So this is like the sigmoid formula. So sigma of x, the sigmoid of a particular value is equal to 1 divided by 1 plus e power minus x. So this x can be the weighted sum. So we have already seen this in the perceptron video, right? So what would happen in a perceptron or a single neuron is that we pass, like let's say 10 input values to this particular neuron, and each of these input features will have an associated weight. So we multiply the weight with those input feature values and add it, and we also add a bias term to this. So this is what we call as a weighted sum. So it's basically the sum of the product of weight and the input feature, right? So that could be the x. So once you put that x here, so we kind of apply this to this particular formula if you are using a sigmoid activation function. So the important characteristic of the sigmoid function is that it will always give you the output between 0 and 1. So that's why we are using this. This is again similar to the logistic regression function that we uses. So logistic regression machine learning model also uses like this particular formula because it needs to give you the prediction probability between 0 and 1. So similarly, in activation functions, let's say that you are getting like a large negative number or a large positive number, we are going to scale it between 0 and 1, and again the curve that you would get with the sigmoid is like a S curve, right? So that is about sigmoid. So later we will like take some values for this x and calculate the output here. And then we have ReLU. So ReLU of x is, it's basically like max of 0 and x. So as I said, this would, if you kind of giving a positive number to this ReLU activation function or a ReLU activation formula, it would give you or return you the same positive number. But if you give a negative number, right, so that would be 0 comma let's say minus 10. So the max of 0 and minus 10 is 0, so you will get 0 as the output. But if you pass let's say plus 10 as the value, so it will try to find the max of 0 and plus 10, and the output would be 10. So that's how ReLU works. So this is like a very simple kind of like activation function, and this is also not that linear, and this is like again widely used one. So this improved the performance, and it also solves the vanishing gradient problem that we would face in a sigmoid activation function. And then we have tan h, and again this is not that widely used, but it's good to know. So tan h, this is basically the tan h formula. So tan h of x is equal to e power x minus e power minus x divided by e power x plus e power minus x. So this is the formula. And again, these formulas or these equations kind of give you some threshold, right? So in the case of sigmoid, the extreme values that you have are 0 and +1. So here you don't have that kind of threshold. So the only threshold that you have over here in the case of ReLU is only 0. So it has like, it doesn't have any kind of like higher limit, so it can go up to any positive integer. In the case of tan h, the values lies between -1 and +1. So we can also like discuss this when we kind of pass in some values and get output. So in that time it will like make more sense to you. And then we have softmax. Again, softmax is used when we have a multi-class classification problem. Here the formula is e power xi divided by summation of e power xj. So let's say that you have 3 neurons. You can think about it like that. So you have 3 neurons, and each of these neurons sends you some logits. Logits are just some raw numbers. Let's say one number is 10, the other number is -2, and the other number is +5, right? And softmax lets you kind of, it gives you probability of each of these individual values, and using that we can say that this is the class that the model is kind of more confident about. So now let's try to take values for each of these x and try to get the output from each of this activation function. So first we can kind of check the sigmoid formula. So let's say that we want to apply this x value as 2 and get the output from the sigmoid function or the sigmoid formula, which is sigma of x is equal to 1 divided by 1 plus e power minus x. So if you kind of pass in this value, so we would get 1 divided by 1 plus e power minus 2, and the value would be 0.881. So which is closer to +1, right? And how this sigmoid curve will work in an output layer is that, again, as I said, this is mainly used in the binary classification problem. If this output value is less than 0.5, we say that the particular data point belongs to the class 0, and if it's greater than 0.5, it belongs to the class 1, just like the logistic regression model. And the important characteristic for this sigmoid function is that, let's say that we are taking a large positive number for this x. So let's discuss about this. So when you take a large positive number, so the denominator will be 1 plus e power minus of a large positive number. So let's say that the number we are taking is 1000, right? So in that case it would be 1 divided by 1 plus e power minus 1000, because this minus is already there, right? So it's a negative power. So e power minus of a large negative number, which is, let's say, e power minus 1000, the value is like very close to 0, so you can assume that it is 0. So when you have 0 in this particular term, it's basically 1 divided by 1. So the output that you are going to get will be closer to 1. So how you can think about it is, if you get a large positive number, your sigmoid activation function would give you the value that is closer to 1. Okay, so I hope this makes sense to you. And you can also like try to take a different value, substitute it over here, and try to see the values for yourselves. Or again, better, in the next video we would do the same thing, same implementation of these formulas in Python, so there you can pass different values and get the output, right? And now let's consider the next case where we take a large negative number. So let's say now we are taking -1000. So we have 1 divided by 1 plus e power minus of -1000. So this will become +1000. So the final thing that you would have will be 1 divided by 1 plus e power plus 1000, right? Now e power plus 1000 is a large number. So basically what you would have is 1 divided by a large number, and that value will be closer to 0. It would be like 0.1 or 0.01. So that's how you can kind of infer this. So when you pass a large positive number to your sigmoid activation function, it would give you a value that is closer to 1, and when you pass a larger negative number, it would give you a value that is closer to 0. But again, that threshold will always be there, so the output that you are going to get will be between 0 and 1. So I hope you are clear with the sigmoid function and the implementation of this. Now let's discuss about ReLU. Again, ReLU is like a simple case, right? So here you can see the curve as well. So whatever the value is, I mean, if the value is a negative number, right, so you will always get 0 as the value. But if the x value is kind of some positive numbers, that same positive number you will get it here. So maybe you can see, so in this case, if you kind of have x value as 2.5, let's say that y is the output, the ReLU value. So if x value is minus 2.5, y is always going to be 0. If it's minus 5, again it's going to be 0. But in the case if the x value is 2.5, right, in that case y value will also be 2.5. So that's how ReLU works. So this is what we call as a rectified linear units. Let's say that we are taking x value as minus 3. So ReLU of x is equal to max of 0 comma x. So if we take x is equal to minus 3, we check maximum of 0 comma minus 3, we know that its value is 0. Again, as I said, the importance of all these activation functions is that it's not just a linear kind of curve, right? So I mean, sigmoid can be a bit linear, but ReLU it's not like that linear. So we kind of have this threshold here as well. So that's like the main advantage of this. And there is also another variation of ReLU that is even more efficient, called as leaky ReLU, where we will actually kind of give a small gradient of negative values. So I mean, we won't allow large negative numbers, but we can allow like a small amount of negative numbers. So that's what we call as leaky ReLU. So that's about it. And now let's discuss about the tan h. So this is our curve of tan h should look like, similar to sigmoid, but your sigmoid values will be between 0 and 1, but your tan h values will be between -1 to +1. Okay, so now let's try to take x value as 1 and calculate these tan h values. So this is the formula, which is tan h of x is equal to e power x minus e power minus x divided by e power x plus e power minus x, right? So now when you put x is equal to 1, we have e power 1 minus e power minus 1, and now we have e power 1 plus e power minus 1. Again, this is like not a very large number that you would get. So basically what happens is, like, maybe we can, in this case the value is 0.762, but for a better understanding, let's consider this values of, let's say, x as a large positive number, right? So let's say that x has a value of plus 1000. In that case, the formula will become e power 1000 minus e power minus 1000 divided by e power 1000 plus e power minus 1000. Now again, e power a negative large number, right? So when you have e power minus 1000, it's going to be a very small number, so this will be closer to 0. So basically your e power plus x will dominate here your e power minus x, right? So basically the logic is e power 1000 is a very larger number compared to e power minus 1000, so which is again close to 0. So what you would get finally is just something like e power x divided by e power x, and when you cancel it out, you will get 1 as the values, right? So that's how again you can remember it. If x value is a large positive number, then e power minus x wouldn't have much influence, so the output is always going to be closer to +1, which is your upper threshold. But when your x value is kind of a large negative number, right, so in that case what would happen is this would be e power minus 1000 minus of e power of minus 1000 again. Now this would act in the vice versa way. So again, e power x may not be a crucial factor here, because this would become e power minus 1000, which is closer to 0. And when you kind of subtract it, right, so this basically will become, I can try if I can write this. So let's say that this would become e power 1000, which is a large number, right? This will be minus, this is a large number, let's say the value that you are getting is 1000 or something, so this will be 0, right? So let's say that e power minus 1000 is becoming 0, and now you have a large number over here. So this large number would be, let's say, 1000, let's say 1000 or 10,000, you can think about some large numbers. So because of this negative number, this number turns out to be negative, and divided by, again, e power x is nothing but e power minus 1000, which is also closer to 0. So let's say that that's 0, plus we would have the same number, the same 1000 will be there, right? So when you have that same 1000 over here, so this we have minus 1000 and plus 1000, when you kind of divide it, you would get -1, right? So that's how you can again infer it. So when you have a large positive number, your value is going to lie closer to +1, your upper extreme. But when you have a large negative number like -1000, in that case the output is going to lie close to -1. So for this particular example of +1, this is the output that you can get, but you can think about these extremes that we have. Okay, so this is about tangent. And then we have this softmax, which is widely used in the multi-class classification output layers. And let's say that we have three values. So we have x1 is equal to 2. Let me just change this. Right, so we have this x1 is equal to 2, x2 is equal to 1, and x3 is equal to -1. Again, let's say that we have three classes that we want to see, like which class is the output for a particular data point. And we know that the formula for this softmax is e power xi divided by summation of e power x j, right? So here this is how this would look like. If you take this first value, right, so x1, so we would put that this is like I is nothing but the first value, j is like all those values included. So you take e power 2 divided by e power 2 plus e power 1 plus e power minus 1. So that's what we have over here. So the output you would get over here is 0.705. And again, now we need to do the softmax, same thing for x2. So x2 is nothing but e power 1. So what you would do is you would have this e power 1 in the numerator divided by the same term, which is nothing but the summation of e power of all these individual values. So we have e power 2, e power plus 1 and e power minus 1, and 0.259 is what we get for softmax of x2, which is softmax of 1. And finally you have this x3, right, so which is e power minus 1. So you have e power minus 1 divided by e2, e1 and e power minus 1, and these are all the values that we are getting. So here we can clearly see that when we have a larger positive number, so comparatively 2 is like a larger number compared to 1 and minus 1, so that would give you the largest probability, and when you sum it up you will get the value as 1, which is again the max probability, right? So you can say that x1 is like the class that particular data point is belonging to. And yeah, so this is about like softmax. So you can have like any number of x's, like let's say you have 100 classes that you want to classify. So in that case you would have that one particular x1 value, let's say it's 2, and now you would divide it by e power of all those individual 100 values that you are getting, and now we will get the probability, and whatever the maximum probability is, we say that that's the class it's belonging to. So this is like we can understand these activation function formulas and kind of put some values and get output for this. And this is basically what happens when you kind of build a neural network. So if you have built a neural network in TensorFlow, right, so in each layer of the network we would say that the activation function should be ReLU or sigmoid or softmax. So this is what happens in each of the neurons of each of the layers. So when we have a weighted sum or some convolutional operation is happening, so it gives you one single output, and to that output we apply this transformation function or these activation function, and that would kind of change these values so that our neural networks can learn from it. So I hope everyone is clear with this video. In the next video, let's try to build all these formulas in Python with functions, right? So if we call those functions and pass these values, it should give all this output, right? So that's what we'll be doing in the next video. So I hope everyone is clear until this point. I'll see you in the next upload. Thanks for watching.